cross-legged on a chair is not ideal. Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you are doing great. This is the first video that I'm going to be posting on this channel, and I'm kind of nervous, but at the same time I'm so excited to be joining the booktube community at last. I've tried to join YouTube when I was 19 years old. It was back in 2016, I think, but I wasn't ready and I didn't know anything about posting and editing, and thus the video was horrible, the quality was shitty, the audio didn't match with the images, and so I took it down and I was like, I'm going to wait till I am more free, because back then I was at university and I didn't have time for that. But right now I think that I am ready, I think. But at the same time, this is like straying way out of my comfort zone, because I get so nervous when I am facing myself in the camera and facing the camera, because I keep looking at myself and I'm so self-conscious about how I look. But at the same time, I'm trying to get over this fear, and I started by posting some videos on my Instagram through IGTV, and I really enjoyed the love and the reaction that you guys were showing me there. And I was thinking that this is the next step. This is the time for me to join the booktube channel, the booktube community. This first video that I'm posting on the channel is going to be an introduction and also what to expect from my channel, and I'm going to be posting here. Basically it's going to be about books, obviously, but again I'm trying to bring something new, because I don't want this to be just another booktube channel talking about just books, because there's a lot of them out there and they're all amazing, and it's always good to try to stand out and be more creative about the context that you posted on the internet. As I said, this is going to be an introduction, so I am on Instagram and Facebook as the Nerdy World Blog. I'm going to talk about books, and especially fantasy books, because this is my favorite genre, or the young adult fantasy and science fiction. I really love reading science fiction and fantasy because I am sick of reality. Oh my god, that's so fucking deep. In our time, and reality is not that good, going into fantasy and science fiction really helped me cope with a lot of things. My favorite fantasy books are A Song of Ice and Fire book by George R. R. Martin, the Harry Potter books, and the Hunger Games books. As I said before, this video is going to be an introduction to the channel, introduction to what kind of content that I'm going to be posting on this YouTube channel. You're going to be expecting a lot of fantasy books, and especially young adult fantasy books and science fiction. This is my favorite genre. I've been reading a lot of fantasy books in the past few years. At first, when I started on my reading journey, I was just reading contemporary and some romance, and right now thinking about it, it surprised me because I don't like romance at all. It's not I don't like it, but when you have a book that focuses only on the romance and doesn't have the supernatural element about it, it's like if I have like a fae fall in love with a human, or something set in a paranormal world, I'm going to enjoy it. But if you give me two people from like our reality and I'm going to be following their journey as they fall in love, I'm not going to enjoy that. This is something shocking, because I tell a lot of people that I don't like romance, and they tell me like, but wait, you've read the books by Sarah J. Maas, and especially A Court of Thorn and Roses, which is basically a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. But I'm like, this is set in an imaginary world, this is set in a fantasy world, in a fantasy continent and stuff. I don't enjoy romance if it is the main theme of the book, so don't be surprised if you find me reading books, fantasy books, but with a lot of romance in them. I also like reading anything about the Greek mythology, be it just non-fiction books or retelling of stories, or just stories taken from the Greek mythology with a new perspective. Like lately I've read a short story by Madeline Miller. She is the writer of Circe and the Song of Achilles. and she has this short story, like 20 pages, called Galatea. In the Greek mythology, Galatea is a statue of a woman that one sculpture made, and this man doesn't like women. He doesn't like the fact that women talk and breathe and just do anything that annoys him. So he makes a sculpture of a beautiful woman, and he loves her, and he starts calling her wife. And one day there was a festival for the goddess Aphrodite, and he goes to her and he was like, can you please turn this statue to a woman? And she turned the statue to a woman because she's a helpless lover. And yeah, she turned into this woman, and we don't know a lot about what happened later because the story from the Greek mythology ends there. So this short story by Madeleine Miller is about Galatea, as she is turned into a human and living with her abusive husband. It's set like, I think, 10 years after the original story. She has a daughter, and it's really great. And I like this kind of books because they take something from the Greek mythology and they turn it into something readable. They turn more exciting and given a new perspective. I have some friends who have read the Song of Achilles, talking about how this book gave a new perspective to the story of Achilles from the Trojan War. And also the same author has the book of Circe about the sorceress Circe. She is the daughter, I think, of the Titan god Helios. And normally in the Greek mythology we know nothing about her, but we know that she is a bad person, that she was cast exiled on some island by Zeus. But in this book by Madeleine Miller, we get to see how she grew up. We get to see her point of view of the whole thing. So yeah, I really enjoy the retellings of the Greek mythology, and also I like retelling from the fairy tale that we know, and that explains why the Lunar Chronicle is my favorite series that I've read last year. Every book is a retelling of a fairy tale. The first book, Cinder, is a retelling of Cinderella. The second one is called Scarlet, is a retelling of the story of the Red Riding Hood. The third one, Chris, it's a retelling of the story of Rapunzel. And the last one, Winter, it's another retelling of the story of Snow White. But all the 4 books are connected, and we are following the same character from the first and the second, third and the last book, just meeting each other for a single goal. This is why the Lunar Chronicle was my favorite series from last year, because it's a retelling of fairy tales. So basically you get the idea. I like retelling because I believe that stories told long ago reflects the ideas of that time. Having something modern added to the old story without the story losing their essence is really nice, and make the newer generation open to read the old story without feeling so bored. For example, I tried to read the Iliad and the Odyssey, and I couldn't because first, the English is so hard. Second, it was written as a poem. I didn't understand anything, but after reading Mythos by Stephen Fry, I was introduced to Greek mythology, but I wasn't bored to death. It was a modern style. It was in an English that I could understand. So yeah, I believe that retelling and taking something from the old stories and adding a modern touch to them help the new generation to get to meet the stories all over again. This is a really long video for introduction, but I just want you to get a piece of my mind. This is an invitation to what's really happening inside my mind, and it's not going to be a boring ride, I hope. Thank you so much for watching this first video. I'm going to be uploading I think twice a week if I have the time, but I'm going to make it a goal to film 2 videos each week. And they're going to be either book reviews or monthly wrap-ups, or just talking about books and what I talk on my Goodreads or my Instagram. But I'm going to be sitting in front of camera and filming that, so this is going to be an exciting journey, I hope. So thank you so much for watching, and welcome to a new adventure. Bye.